Now, let's look at specification number 2, which states, explain that enzymes are proteins acting as biological catalysts and play a role in every metabolic reaction. Let's dive into what that means. You'll come across the term enzyme a lot in biology, for good reason. Enzymes are vital to life. Without them, the chemical reactions in our bodies would occur far too slowly to sustain life. So, for your exams, remember this key definition: enzymes are biological catalysts and are involved in all metabolic reactions. Alright, so let's talk about enzymes, what they are and how they work as biological catalysts. First of all, enzymes are special proteins made by living cells, and the job is to speed up chemical reactions in the body. That's what we mean when we say they're biological catalysts. But here's the cool part: they can do that without being changed or used up. They go into a reaction, help it happen faster, and come out exactly the same, ready to do it again. Now, let's break that down a bit more. Enzymes are found in every living thing, plants, animals, even tiny microbes. And they're involved in pretty much every process that keeps us alive. That includes things like digesting food, making energy, repairing cells, and helping us grow. What's really amazing is that only a small amount of enzyme is needed to make a huge difference. Even in tiny amounts, enzymes can dramatically speed up reactions that would otherwise take way too long. In fact, let me give you a wild example. If we didn't have enzymes, digesting a single meal could take over 50 years. But thanks to enzymes, digestion only takes a few hours, around 4 on average. That's how powerful they are. And enzymes don't just randomly do things, they're very specific. Each enzyme is built to speed up a particular type of reaction. That level of control is super important, because all of the reactions happening inside us need to be timed just right. If they're too slow, we couldn't survive. All of these enzyme-driven reactions together make up what we call metabolism, the full set of chemical processes that keep living organisms functioning. So, to wrap it up, enzymes are protein-based biological catalysts made by cells. They speed up vital chemical reactions without being used up, and they're found in all living things. Without enzymes, life simply wouldn't work the way it does. So far, we've been talking about enzymes in general, but now let's narrow our focus to the ones that do their work inside the cells. These are called cellular enzymes. And just like all enzymes, they're biological catalysts. They speed up chemical reactions without being used up in the process. Here's the key point: cellular enzymes are in charge of the reactions happening inside the cell itself. These reactions don't just float around randomly, they happen in specific areas, like the cytoplasm, or even within particular organelles inside the cell. Let's look at a couple of examples to make this more real. Take aerobic respiration, the process cells use to release energy from glucose using oxygen. Now, where does that happen? Exactly, in the mitochondria. The enzymes that make aerobic respiration possible are located right there. Or consider how cells process lipids, which are just fats in simpler terms. The enzymes for that job are mostly found in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, another organelle with a very specific role. These reactions don't happen in isolation. They're part of a metabolic pathway, a series of chemical steps where one reaction leads into the next. Each step is carefully controlled by a different enzyme, all working inside the cell to keep things running smoothly and efficiently. Inside every living cell, enzymes are hard at work. They carry out essential reactions in the right place, at the right time, making sure the cell, and ultimately the whole organism, stays alive and healthy. Now, when it comes to where enzymes do the job, we can divide them into two main types: intracellular enzymes and extracellular enzymes. Let's start with intracellular enzymes. These are enzymes that are produced inside the cell, and they stay inside the cell to carry out their functions. In other words, they're used by the cell itself to keep everything running smoothly. You'll find them working in areas like the cytoplasm, nucleus, mitochondria, and even chloroplasts, if we're talking about plant cells. One great example of an intracellular enzyme is catalase. It's found in the mitochondria and plays a crucial role in breaking down hydrogen peroxide, which is a harmful byproduct of certain reactions. Catalase converts it into harmless water and oxygen, helping protect the cell from damage. This enzyme is part of a larger group called oxidoreductases, which are involved in oxidation-reduction reactions, essential processes that happen constantly in cells. Now, let's talk about extracellular enzymes. These are also made inside the cell, but here's the key difference: they're secreted out of the cell to do the job somewhere else. So, while the cell creates them, they don't work for the cell directly, they work outside of it, often for the benefit of the entire organism. A classic example would be digestive enzymes produced by the pancreas. The pancreas doesn't use them itself. Instead, it sends them to the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, where they help break down the food we eat into smaller, usable molecules. So, to sum it all up, intracellular enzymes work inside the cell, supporting its internal functions. Extracellular enzymes are made inside the cell, but they work outside, often helping out in larger body systems like digestion. Understanding the difference between these two types is really important, especially when we look at how enzymes help both individual cells function and support bigger processes in the body.